Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast, the podcast that is passing wisdom to the next generation of athletes, coaches, and parents to transform leaders on and off the court. In today's episode, we have our very first volleyball player and coach on the show, Noah Taitano. His story is remarkable. It's really inspiring, going from where he went as a high school volleyball player to collegiate volleyball player, riding the bench to playing professional volleyball. He's now giving back, that opportunity that he had to grow as a player and a person. And we also touch on injury prevention and how to jump higher. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Bridging Impact Podcast. Noah, I'm thrilled to have you on today. You were the first person from the volleyball world to come on here and share, what the sport of volleyball means to you and the impact it has on so many others. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be the first volleyball guest. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the first one. So that's super cool. Super excited.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's dive right into your story and just sharing about the impact the game of volleyball has had on you.
Okay, so growing up, I never played volleyball. I'm from Guam, and so I played a lot of sports. Played all the main sports: basketball, football, soccer, track and field, all those sports. But I never touched volleyball. And so when I came back from the States, when I came back to the States from Guam, my freshman year of high school, I was like, I'm gonna give it a try. So my brother convinced me to try out for the volleyball team, and luckily I made it. And so from there on, I was like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate time to the sport. And so started getting better. All through high school, I played volleyball. That was the only sport I focused on. And so my sophomore year, my dad, he asked me, he was like, hey, do you want to take this sport seriously? And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I joined club volleyball, worked out countless hours, day and night, during the summers, during the year of, even during the school years. I remember every summer there was a time all I did was work out 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, night. Did my runs in the morning, my plyometrics in the afternoon. Then at night I would lift weights, and I would do that all summers of my high school. And it was tough because the area I'm in, where my team wasn't the best, and I wasn't I was a pretty good player, but there was a lot of stuff that was missing, fundamentally wise, and not much people really, no one really kind of guided me to help me get better at the skills that I was lacking. It was always just my strengths. I was jumping higher and higher through the years, hitting the ball better, but I never worked on fundamentals of passing. And so that was a part of my game that wasn't as strong, and I kind of carried over into my college career. And I was kind of seen as a just one-dimensional player who jumped really high. I was known for jumping high, but I wasn't known for passing the volleyball really well. And so that's the biggest part to it. Volleyball, you got to be a well-rounded player to be seen by these other colleges. And yeah, it was tough because I didn't have that base, that fundamental base of passing. And as my senior year came around, I didn't get much offers from the schools I really wanted to go to. And I'm only 6 foot. I'm 6 foot, 6'1", in that range. So I'm not the tallest player. And there were a lot of disadvantages to that, just because all the other kids that were going to these big schools are 6'5", 6'6", and they can jump just as high. And so I didn't get much looks because I also couldn't, like I said, pass a volleyball that well. And I was getting offers from D3 schools, D2, NAIA schools, but not D1 schools that I wanted to go to. And so I went the community college route. Went to Long Beach City College, played my 2 years there, did pretty well. Was a starter my first year. Second year, I was coming off the bench, and then my opportunities for playing Division I were very close to none, basically. And there's this one school, Concordia University of Irvine, that I was getting looked at for a little bit, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go there and just see what the odds are of me playing at the Division I level. So I went, and was on the bench for majority or for my entire basically my entire collegiate career there. And it was real tough. It was real tough. A lot of adversity, a lot of just trying to find my footing and find where I can, like, the opportunities I can get on the court, or like what I can do to get on the court. And I worked out a lot. I worked on my game a lot, and still never got the chance. Like, until I guess my senior year, we had a coach change, and then that's when like people started, like, the starting guy on my spot, he's gone, and so it was just me and and another guy who's a transfer, and we had a new coach, and so basically he was like, yeah, like, it was kind of a clean slate at that point for me, and I thought that was a great opportunity for me, and yeah, so he saw me, and he was like, he saw how I was playing really well, but I was in a tough situation because it's like I I took so with COVID happening, it's like it kind of like added another year to everyone's
Right.
eligibility,
Right.
and so I kind of took that. Then also I redshirted, so I transferred in during a spring season, so that was half of the year gone already. So it's like the situation I was in. I was like, I took classes, and I was already done with my classes I could be
Okay.
before I could play for our season, and so and like I didn't want to pay more money to form the master's
Right.
program to stay to play. And so like by the time like season came around, like I was done, and I was like, you know what, coach, like, hey, like I can't afford the master's program, and like I don't just know what to do. And so he like, and I told him, I was like, I'm done with volleyball. Like I just, I never really I had one start in a game my entire like collegiate career. I came off the bench maybe like a handful of times, so I never really like got the time to really like, shine, or like just show what I've been working so hard my entire like life for. And so yeah, I was done, and this happened. So I was done in the fall season. Spring season is a volleyball season, so I couldn't play. My coach was like, "Hey, do you wanna have an opportunity for you to play volleyball overseas?" And I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, dude, it's a couple months. You'll be there for a couple months. In and out. You go and play and come back." And I was like, like I was thinking about it. I was like, is it really worth it? Like, do I want to go and play? And like, just kind of like in my mind, I'm like, what if I don't perform? Then I just kind of like embarrass myself. Um, but he's like, no, just go. Like, I'll connect you with the guy, then you'll figure it out. Then you just go and come back. And if you like it, you like it, and you can continue it. If you're not, then hey, it is what it is. Yeah, at least you went. At least you said you tried. And yeah, so I got connected, and it's crazy because like the guys that I went to India with were all these like. So the guy that he connected me with, David Lee. So David Lee's like he's an Olympic gold medalist. I think he's Olympian. I don't know if he got a gold medal, but he has a couple medals. But like when he said his name, I was like in shock. I was in awe because it's like
Right.
I've he was one of the people that I would watch when I was a kid, like playing like on YouTube when I would like look just like for
Right.
volleyball games and stuff to watch. And so like he's like for me to like even just like text him and like just kind of have his number to talk to. I was like, okay, like that's crazy. Then like the other guys I was with are a bunch of like professional beach volleyball players, a bunch of like they're all already pro. And for me to be around those guys and to just kind of be to interact with them and like compete with them at like the highest level you can in volleyball was insane because I never thought that I would even end up there. Like I thought that I was done, and I thought that my like I had a good run at whatever, like, and I was like, like when, and it was tough because it's like that part where athletes have to hang it up, knowing that that's not what like everything you've like worked hard for. Like it's like I don't know. I in my mind I was like I can't. There's no way it can be done. But like I'm just gonna. I have to hang it up. And I was definitely like before that whole opportunity came, I was definitely like in this weird space of like that can't be it. Like there has to be more to it. There has to be more to it. Where all those like long days of working out, those long nights of working out, like they didn't go to waste. And like I understand like sometimes like, oh, it's like they didn't go to waste in essence, but like in my mind, I'm like, I didn't get to show people what I'm about, you know? And so, yeah, so that I went, did pretty well out there, which was really cool. They treated like that league out there in India is honestly such a great league, and the production side of it's insane. And so it was crazy the numbers that they ran. I think they streamed there was about 44 million people watching the stream of the
It's
actual,
legit, yeah.
yeah. And so, and like out there, it was crazy because on my Instagram, I was like getting messages from all these different people, like after the
Yeah.
games, and they're just saying like, "Hey, like great job," and this and that, and yeah, such a great experience. And now I came back, and like so like it's basically the off season. I just coach and I kind of do like lessons with people and help them get better. And I play now. There's a league here called the VLA, and so it's a volleyball league of America. So there's two different leagues that they have here, the NVA and the VLA. And so I'm in the VLA with this team called Imiola. And it's the pro league that they're trying to start up here in the US. And it's going. And we have some really good players. I mean, all the players that play in it are like ex-professional players, D1 players, or even like current professional players and current D1 players. And so it's a great league. Um, then my plan is to go play professional still until I just can't, because I think that, I'm only going to be like this for so long. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it till I can't. And when I can't, I'll be happy with what I've done. So that's kind of the story of volleyball, but definitely changed my life. Definitely did not think that I would be where I am right now from this sport, like let alone even just playing it in general. And so yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that's an incredible story, and I'm really grateful that you didn't spare us any details, and that you kind of went through the whole journey of kind of what it was like in those summers, right in high school, where you're working out 3 times a day. Like I remember those days where, because I'm definitely sharing that like clip with my athletes, because so often, right? You talked about your natural abilities of being able to jump,
Mhm.
but going and taking that next step to the collegiate level, you had to improve your, those fundamental passing skills, and that's applicable to any other sport, right? You're really talented somewhere naturally, but you have to complement your game somewhere else,
Mhm.
just to make sure that you're taking that step at the next level. And I'm really curious because it seems like like you really wrote it out, playing collegiate volleyball, only starting one game,
Mhm.
obviously having to ride the bench after putting in so many hours, right? It's not easy to do that. And that hard work eventually led to the opportunities in India. And I'm just so curious, kind of like some of the, kind of the things that we talked about a little bit before, but like that self talk and like what kind of helped you pursue and persist, through some of those challenging times of being on the bench. Was it like a good supporting cast? I'm just really curious because I know like a lot of the athletes that I get the privilege of working with, some of them have been, cut from teams, and some
Mhm.
of them may not be the most naturally talented, but your story is one of like actually like putting in the hard work and creating opportunities for yourself, like going to India and working with David Lee, who you were growing up watching, like things that you didn't even know were possible.
Mhm. Well, yeah, there was okay, so there was definitely a time where during college where I wanted to quit. And it was extremely hard to come back and just stay. Like I was thinking, like in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna transfer. Like I don't want to be here anymore. And like the coach like just never saw me as like a player that could start, or that could even like let alone have a role on the court, you know. But what got me to the self-talk I had, I was like, you know what? Like I have a friend, my best friend. Um, his name's Eric Boisverd. He every day I was like, dude, like I'm gonna quit. Like what's the point? Like there's no point. Like I'm not getting the playing time. Like at the end of practice, we usually run like like we do runs, so it's like just like 6-on-6, and I wasn't even getting in that. And I was like, I'm not even like, dude, like I'll get thrown in here and there, but it's like I wasn't playing much. And he's like, just show up, dude, just show up every day. Just be there. Right, just go and just do your thing, just like just do your thing and just like show up. And um, that really helped me because every day I was like, dude, like, what's the point? Like, I don't want to. It's like a waste. I was thinking in my head, it's just a waste of my time. Like, I could be doing something else. I could like start my career of whatever I can do or whatever it is I'm supposed to do. But he's like, no, just show up every day, just go. And it stuck to me. And every day I showed up, and like it didn't like as we had that coach change to the newer coach, it helped me even more because it was like, like I was getting better every single day. And I that's the mindset. It was like just like every day, just show up, no matter what happens, no matter whether you play or not, whether like whether it's a good day or a bad day, whether no matter what it is, just show up. And that was I had a really good support from a lot of the guys and like a lot of the guys on the bench too. It's like they're all just like, yeah, dude, like some guys were okay with being on the bench and some guys weren't, but my roommate, my best friend at the time, still my best friend to this day, he just told me like, dude, just show up. And that's the self-talk that I have like every day, even now. Whether it's a bad day or good day, where it's gloomy like today or like sunny like
Yeah.
yesterday, just showing up every single day, no matter how you feel, no matter what's going on in your life, you just show up. And you know, great, like good things will happen. And like that's how it carried over to the India thing. I was like, like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see how it is. And I loved it. And I was like, I also just never realized that I'm good enough to compete at the highest level. And like even today, like even to this day, I get in shock too, because like this past weekend we ran our practices for the VLA team, and we had guys, some still professional athletes, come in. And like the guys that were at our runs, they were like these guys I would look up to when I would play in high school. I was like, yo, like there's like this guy's crazy. And I'm like, he's across the net from me right now. I'm playing with him. Like I'm playing against him, or I'm playing with him. And so it's like I'm like, dude, and like I was like in awe because I was like, damn, I'm hanging with them, like, and I never thought that I would be at that point or get to this point. And so yeah, just showing up every single day, no matter what. That's like the one thing that helped me deal with what I was going through. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's so simple, right? But it's powerful, right? Because it's so easy for us. Like, you talked about like you wanting to quit. And I've had similar thoughts around like whether it's podcasting or right coaching. I'm like, I just don't feel like it today, right? But,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we just show up. And I think, eventually over time it creates that like pride in what we do, right? I'm sure you're proud to, kind of overcome some of those obstacles to play, professionally in India. But I also want to touch on, I'm sure, the pride you feel about being the first professional volleyball player coming from Guam. And I'd just love for you to share a little bit more about what that means to you.
It means the world. It means the world. Just because like just especially like how I've like grown up and how like who I was before, and like just coming from such a small island of Guam. It's like, and I wasn't born there. I wish I was born there, but I was born here in California, but I was raised there. And so just living there and like just coming from such a culture that like not much people know of, and not much people have like got the experience to like just get to know of. Like I love my island so much. And like just being able to represent my island, no matter where I am, no matter what I do. And like it just makes me more like, it holds me to a higher standard. Like when you put something, when you have something you're so prideful for, like you kind of hold yourself to another standard, a higher standard, so that you can like represent them in the best way. Because when people see you, and that you tell them like, oh, he's a good person, like, oh yeah, he's from Guam, like that stuff is like, it's incredible. And so yeah, like just being able to represent where I'm from, and especially in the volleyball world, is huge for me. And yeah, so like I'm planning to be back. I haven't been back to Guam in a long time, just because like just with everything that I've been like doing here. And like this, it's super expensive. Like it's super expensive to fly back home.
Right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, so I plan to be there in July, possibly to play for the national team there. Um, but that's kind of still up in the air. It's kind of figuring out like what my schedule is like and what I can do, but definitely want to go back home and represent my island, and play the sport I love and kind of give back and just kind of give back to the kids out there and train them and, show them the volleyball that's being played out here because, yeah, definitely different from the volleyball they're playing out there.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I think you bring up a good point where you're talking about like that representation piece of like not just being a great volleyball player, but also just being a great person, right? Like a great leader, great teammate on and off the court, and just being able to, you know, represent, your country of Guam, and especially because I know it's not like we talked about before. It's not the biggest volleyball country,
Mm-hmm.
at least yet. And so now you get the opportunity to potentially go back and give back to the kids. And as we kind of shift into the next section of our show, I'm just curious, like you have all this experience like as an athlete, and now during the off seasons, as you mentioned, you get the opportunity to help kids, play volleyball and train in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love for you to share a little bit more about what kind of that transition's like, and what coaching brings and fulfills for you.
Definitely coaching makes me a better player. Not only a better player, but like helps me to
I agree.
understand like it helps me understand more of like what like like certain things that I was missing when I was getting coached and like certain things that like I can like add on to like whatever I need to do for the next people. And like I think that like coaching is like it's the most fulfilling thing like on this planet, I think. I don't know. This it's like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get to teach kids like the sport that you love. You get to like
right.
kind of like guide these kids into something that you love, like you're passionate about. Like, I love volleyball, passionate about weightlifting, and just kind of being able to like get these kids and also like start their athlete journey at whatever age it may be. It could be like 9 or even like like mid like junior year of high school, whatever it may be. But it's just such a fulfilling moment, a fulfilling job, especially when like kids kind of grasp the concept that you're trying to teach them. Like I'll try to teach a kid how to do their approach for volleyball and like hit a volleyball or something, whatever it may be. And next thing you know, it's like they're struggling and struggling and struggling, and they get this good hit, and I'm just like, dude, like that's what we've been looking for. That's it. And I always ask my kids, I'm like, okay, like what do you feel? Like what's the feeling you get? Like, did that feel
Mm,
right? Did that feel wrong? Whether it's like, yeah, and it's like, and if they don't know, then it's like, okay, like then well, we got to keep doing it. We got to keep doing it until like you feel this is right, you feel this is wrong. And if they feel something that's wrong, if they feel that the wrong move is right, then we can kind of fix it, and we're gonna just repeat and repeat and repeat the right way to do it. But I'm really, really big on just getting kids to understand what they're doing wrong and feel that so that they can fix that stuff on their own later on in the game time situation. Because if we're over here coaching, just telling them over and over and over again what they're doing wrong without them understanding and feeling it, then they're never gonna make a change on their own. And like I think that's the biggest thing that like as a coach I gotta like I always like I'm huge on, because I want the kids to like, we're here to give them the tools, but at the end of the day they're gonna be the ones to like fulfill them, to do it on the court. And so like, and I always want my kids to be able to do that and fix it on themselves, because I know how hard, I know how annoying it is when you get a coach telling you the same old stuff over and over and over and over again. And I know the feeling, and now I understand the feeling as a coach telling the kid the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it's kind of,
right, right.
it's like it's also surreal because I never really understood the coaches. Like as a player, as a kid, I was always like, my coach is annoying me right now, man. Like, and like
Yep,
now I'm like, I know the feeling of being annoying and like nagging. But
right.
yeah, it's such a great process to go along with these young athletes, or even like the older athletes too, that are kind of like, in college, like kind of figuring out their way and like need some tips. It's like it's cool to just kind of have the whole thing go full circle.
Yeah, full circle. That's huge, right? And
Yeah.
it is such a rewarding job,
Yeah.
position, experience, and kind of I have a similar philosophy about kind of teaching, right? You're kind of empowering and equipping them with the tools instead of like telling them always the answer, right?
Yeah.
As teachers of the game, right? Teacher of volleyball, teacher of basketball, we have to teach them how to play the
Hmm.
games, right? Like you said, when we're not there, right?
Hmm.
When how do you make that pass? What's the right read?
Hmm.
What's that skill? How does it feel like?
Hmm.
And I know one of the things that when I originally reached out that I was kind of curious about, and it's a big thing in the basketball world. It's like, how do you jump higher, right? And you talked about it.
Hmm.
That obviously that's something that maybe comes naturally to you, but the weight room is also a place where I'm sure you've added even more leap to your vertical.
Hmm.
I'm curious for those athletes and maybe even parents and coaches that are listening, like, what do you think are a couple of things, this is getting a little technical, that could, help players, kind of add some interest to their vertical?
Definitely think that uh yeah, I wish I was a more of a natural like springy athlete. I definitely was not like close to that in
Okay.
like high school, but I worked extremely hard, and so I think the one thing I just didn't realize like was that as a kid, like I said, I was working out the 3 times a day, but I never gave myself rest. I never had a rest day,
Mm,
so I had really, really bad like tendonitis in my knees and like just kind of like
yeah.
jumper's knee was like huge for me. And so now it's like now that I'm older and now that I'm kind of I understand like more of like what I was doing wrong. And that's another thing too. It's just kind of trial and error with like the whole process of lift like of the my journey of jumping higher and everything. And so the biggest thing I would say is just making sure that like we're all like it's injury prevention is a huge thing that I'm about, like just making sure that what we do and how we do it is as safe and as repeatable as possible, and it's got to make sure that everything we're doing is like when it comes to reps, rest, sets, whatever it may be, we're making sure that all of our muscles are still good to go. They're always firing whenever we need them to fire. But definitely starting from the ground up, like I was saying before, like we had that conversation before, but just starting from the ground up and making sure that we have a good, stable base, a fundamental base for our jumping. Because if we just go straight into jumping without kind of building anything else, like the other things before that, it's like, yes, we get gains in our vertical, but longevity wise, that's what we want. We want longevity. We don't want just
Right.
instant. We don't want instant. Okay, I'm gonna be able to jump higher. Obviously, if you go from jumping a lot to not jumping at all, you're gonna get some gains no matter what. But
Right.
out to what expense and to what like you're gonna hit a plateau because you've been just jumping and stuff. You add weights, yeah, you add more, but if we don't go down to the basis of just kind of being able to land, to absorb force, to be stable, to have a stable base, have good ankles, good feet, like that's where all that power comes from. Then when we start from the bottom, our feet, our ankles, strengthening those, being able to, like I said, land properly, absorb the force from the jump, kind of jump,
Right.
have these low loads, then like just build up to bigger loads. We got to have that. We got to have some kind of base in order for us to actually be able to maximize our potential to jump higher. So always like my all the like the program I have, I've been like I've been starting is making sure that all of like the kids that I train, we learn how to do all that stuff. We learn how to jog, like do like proper depth jumps and hold that stick, hold that landing. Then we start springing up. But like being able, I'm really big on injury prevention and just having a stable like foundation for athletes to build upon. That way we don't plateau too quick. That way we don't get hurt.
Right.
But that's the biggest thing, I think, just kind of having a good strong base, and after that, hey, we'll add on some more jumping, we'll add on the weights, we'll add on everything else, but just being able to um, absorb the force before we can produce the force is really big.
Yeah, the injury prevention piece is huge, and I actually see it. That's one of the things that actually at our for our high school basketball team, we talked about for our season next year is injury
Hmm.
prevention, because we actually had quite a few
Yeah.
different injuries
Hmm.
to key players,
Hmm.
and then you don't have the same
Yep.
continuity in practice, and you're not able to kind of make sure that you're firing on all cylinders when time comes around. So with that, like, what are some good like injury prevention exercises and rules of thumb? You talked about rest, which is really important,
Mhm.
and I think sometimes it's hard, especially in the Instagram world, to be like,
Yeah.
you go online and you see someone in your sports that's training, you're like, I got to go get out there. But I mean, obviously, it's kind of trusting the training process. But what are some rules of thumb for injury prevention?
Okay. There's a ton, especially just depending on what's hurting and where it's hurting. But the
Right.
biggest thing I like my athletes, we foam roll, man. We foam roll before, always foam
Okay.
roll, foam roll, foam roll, foam roll. Um, I personally don't like to do static stretching. I always like to do like, dynamic stretching, or even like just kind of like some kind of like movement where we're doing like where we're like getting blood flow through active movement into those muscles. There's this guy on Instagram, I forgot his name, but he does this segment, and he just talks about like these different like movements where we're kind of like we're not pushing heavy weight, but we're kind of just we have some weight, but we're just getting blood flow into our muscles. Like, when we're really sore, a lot of people think, oh, just rest. But like, no, just like, it's kind of like rest, like, do this and that. But like, no, it's like we gotta put blood into those sore muscles so that it can keep going. And so it's like this guy, he says motion is lotion. And so when we're sore,
Mm.
we gotta we gotta put some motion in there so that we can get those muscles to recover. They recover faster when we put more blood flow into them, instead of laying down, all day. If you're like really, really sore, we gotta put some blood flow, but gotta put some movement into those muscles. Um, but then also, what I'm really big on right now, I put a bunch of stuff on my Instagram for, and I'm continuing to do it. But just isometric holds for whatever muscle it's hurting. So for the knees, I love a good like split squat hold with some weight on your hands. Like, you hold weight, get in that split squat stance, and you just hold it for 30 to 45 seconds. Run like 3 sets of
Okay.
those. Switch legs, squat holds, wall sits. Um, even like if you got a quad, if you go to the gym, like a quad machine, and you just kind of the quad extension machine, you
Right.
just kind of hold that. You max out that weight, you get that weight to a good weight, and you kind of just hold. You push your knee out, and you just kind of hold it there for a good 30 to 45 seconds. Even on the hamstring curl machine, same thing. Load it up for a good weight, and just kind of bend your knee to about like maybe like 45 degrees, or even like 90, to where like you're getting tension on your muscles, and you just hold 30 45 seconds. So that stuff has been super beneficial for me, because like, now I'm getting older, and it's like, and like I'm resting a little bit more, but doing those isometric holds for me have helped a lot, and especially with other athletes I know, and other athletes that I've trained, like it's helped tremendously. You can even do that on your calf raises too. You hold your calf raise at the top for a good 30 to 45 seconds, and it helps with like your Achilles and everything. So that kind of stuff. Then when it comes to shoulder stuff, like there's just like, a little bit of external rotation work, um, some YTWs, like all the other stuff. There's a bunch of other stuff that helps a lot, but yeah, I would say isometrics is a huge thing. Just holding like whatever muscle that's hurting, kind of holding it in that position for like 30 45 seconds helps a lot.
And so that basically just helps to get a lot of blood
Yeah,
flow. So
yeah,
like in
exactly.
your knees when you're holding it, because obviously when you're under muscles are under tension, right? There's blood flowing to
Hmm.
there, which is a really interesting point. Why, like, sometimes I feel like you do a leg day, and
Yeah,
then the next day you literally just sit on the couch. That second day after is just you're
yeah, it's
so
horrible.
sore.
Yeah.
So I've definitely kind of picked up on that, but I think it's good, to give a couple of different examples of different techniques, and obviously, right. I still play, right, but I
Hmm.
don't play professionally anymore.
Hmm.
But it's still something that helps keep me in shape,
Yeah.
right? And I think our longevity wise, right, as an athlete, you want to stay an athlete for as long as you can. So that's all great advice. As we enter kind of the last section of our show, I'd love for you just what like final piece of advice would you have for like the athletes that are listening, and also, for the coaches and the parents that are listening and that support the athletes?
For the athletes, I would say, yeah, just that that piece of just showing up every single day, and like whatever you tell yourself, it's gonna be true, right? So if you tell yourself like, hey, like, I'm not good or I'm not good enough, then that's true. And so you gotta have positive self-talk. Positive self-talk is gonna get you to where you want to be. Like I know where you're at right now. Like for those that aren't where they at right where they aren't where they want to be at right now. If they continue with like negative self-talk, they're not going to be where they want to be. And so having that positive self-talk and just grinding, like just grind. Like I think I think Deion Sanders had there's this video like this that's going viral on Instagram about him. He's saying you don't have, what is he saying? He said something about like not worrying about what other people, like whether it's like about someone else's success and just worrying about what you got, like what you're doing. Like someone's blowing up, you're not blowing up, keep doing what you're doing. Like someone has more success in the court than you, keep doing what you're doing. Just kind of being able to just like not worry about other people and just kind of worry about what you're doing and be the best person that you can be, because you can't be the next other person, right? But you can be the best person that you can be. And so that's the biggest thing I have for like the athletes. And just when it comes to coaches, just I don't know, like just be that encouraging person for your kids and just help them to be the best version that they can be of themselves. And that's the biggest thing I kind of do with my kids. I'm like, a lot of the kids I coach, a lot of them sometimes they don't believe. And they don't believe that they can be a good volleyball player. They don't believe that they are a good volleyball player. And so I think that's the biggest thing that us coaches can just kind of do, just get our kids to believe that they are a good volleyball player, they are a good basketball player, they are a good athlete. Like, it's just kind of getting those kids to believe that they are good and that they will be good if they put the work in.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great place to finish off, and just transferring that belief. And I feel like, that quote by Deion Sanders resonates a ton with you and your story of how, you could have probably been very concerned with your teammates' success on your collegiate team, but now, you then had the opportunity to play professionally overseas. And so, where can people, find and connect with you, and then also, support you along your journey?
Oh yeah, so my Instagram handle is Taitano VB, so TAITANOVB. I post a bunch of tips. I have tips of the day every day. I post a tip of the day. It could be pertaining to working out, to volleyball, or even just kind of like life quotes, motivational quotes. I also post workouts that help with volleyball. It's more volleyball focused, but honestly, a lot of the stuff I have on there, you can use it all around for any sport, to just like kind of grow as an athlete in general. I even have like health, like injury prevention workouts on there as well that I post, which is like extremely helpful for any sport. But yeah, that Instagram is like where you can find me, and yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Noah. I have a ton of notes, and I think it was a really great conversation on all aspects. We hit the technical aspects of training, but we also talked about, your story and that one of inspiration for the athletes, and then also for whoever else is listening too, that are just pursuing any other projects. Sometimes our mission is to, create leaders that are, transform on and off the court. And so, eventually we all hang up our cleats, our shoes, whatever, and we get the opportunity to serve and give back, and these skills that we're learning. So I appreciate your time and sharing your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me, especially like being the first volleyball player on here. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you for reaching out as well. And I hope that the conversation has touched will touch athletes out there, even coaches, and yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bridging Impact podcast. We'd love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment and a review on whatever platform you're on. It's the best way to help us grow. We appreciate you for doing that. We'll shout you out on social media. I'd also love if you connected with me on social media. Let me know your thoughts, and this is why I do it. I want to share knowledge and wisdom from experienced leaders to people like yourself and myself, so we can have this dialogue and move forward, make an impact on the world. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Cheers.